Hello, beautiful people. Today we're going to speak about being patient with yourself. Now, this is the conclusion of that little series about loving yourself. Being patient with yourself is a concept that will evolve depending what you're doing and where you are in life. And there is one specific reason for it, is that depending how you see a situation, the outcome that you want may change. And what I mean by that, simple example, maybe you're going for a dessert and it's warm out and you're gonna want a cold dessert, or maybe it's winter and you're gonna want a warm dessert. The outcome of the dessert is gonna change depending on the situation. In one case it could be very quick, like grabbing some ice cream, and in others it could be a lot longer because you have to put something into the oven. So your expectation of a situation, even though it can look the same depending on the context and where you're at, will change. Which means you have to learn to be patient with yourself, because you will not be able to do certain things faster than intended, that the world wants you to do them. And it is very different than grinding and putting the time in. This is more about setting yourself up with expectation that you can realize in a time frame that is healthy. Because what is the point of grinding and rushing if at the end of the day you either have to redo everything, or if you burn out and lose all the progress you've done because you're unable to move forward? It is better to move in incremental step than to do huge step than to crash. Now, sometimes the huge step will show in your life and you're gonna push through it. You're gonna seize the opportunity, and that's fine. But then you also have to take the time to rest. Take the time to recover, to rebuild your energy, so that you can keep pushing the opportunity forward the way it's meant to be. Being patient with yourself means being okay if you didn't get to do something, because time keeps moving and often we don't get to do everything we want to do in a day, and that's okay too. Give yourself the time to relax and to breathe, because you're going to be more performant if you do. There are some very interesting studies about the brain that shows that studying for 45 minutes, then taking a real break between 5 and 10 minutes and studying again will serve you a lot better than studying for 6 hours non-stop. Because of the way the brain works, you're letting the brain recover a lot more, which means you're going to be able to be a lot more performant for a lot longer, and you don't go into that fatigue mode for the brain. This applies to life in general. And sometimes we have to push really hard, and we should recognize those moments, but those moments do not have to be all the time, and we should also be okay with that. And being patient with yourself is about that. When you're learning something, having the expectation that you will know everything right away is unrealistic. It's more about being on the journey and learning and trying to enjoy it as you're on it. Being patient with yourself means that you look at the world sometime. You look at its motion, its movement, we spoke about that. And you just wait for you to be ready for something. And sometimes it can be 10 seconds, sometimes it can be a day. It really depends on the context. But being patient with yourself is really about taking the time to understand what will serve you best. Now, all the topics we've covered, they're all about loving yourself. Being kind with yourself, being patient with yourself, all those things. And loving yourself is all-encompassing, and it should show in your life. So there is a few tips and a few tricks that you can do. And it doesn't take a lot of time, and it's more about asking questions to yourself and seeing how the answer comes up to you. One of the basic questions is that, is this serving me? Yes or no? It's very basic, it's very simple. But sometimes we're in such a rush and we don't think about ourselves at all that we don't even ask that basic question. So that's the first one. The second one is, will the world be better if everybody was doing that? If you're running yourself into the ground, do you think the world would be a better place if everybody was running themselves into the ground? The answer is no. Seeing that aspect also helps you navigate, how to treat yourself. because you're gonna see, you know what? I think that if everybody did that, things would be better because everybody would be a bit more performant. Everybody would be a bit more aware. So then it might be a good thing to do. So that's the second question I think that is quite important because it speaks not just to us, but to the community around us. And at the end of the day, we're living in society, whether we like it or not. Unless you're in a monastery right now, which I find super cool, but I don't know how you're seeing this video. But yeah, society exists, which means community exists. So that question really relates to that, because by loving ourselves, by doing things that are good for us, we're able to help the community. And if everybody does that, then the community thrives, which is a good thing for everyone. This is how we move forward as humanity as a whole. The other thing is quite simple. If you feel completely overwhelmed, if you don't know where to start, where to stop, where to begin, what to do, just do nothing. Like, as crazy as it sounds, sometimes when you're in the motion, you forget. Just do nothing. Just literally look at a white wall for like 2 minutes and then come back to it. That will help your brain just process everything, get things a tiny bit in order, and maybe give you the first thought, okay, now I focus on this. Calm you down, bring all the receptors down a bit so you can process information. Reducing the stimuli around you, because at all time our eyes see so many things and the brain keep processing it. Plus we have the sound, we have the touch, everything. By reducing that a bit, that can help a lot, even if it's just for a few seconds, a minute or two. And if you have the time and you're inclined, it can be a form of meditation that can last 5 minutes. I'm just gonna sit here, I'm gonna close my eyes, and that's all. I'm not gonna try to be in a meditative state, I'm not gonna think or not think, I'm just gonna sit and I'm gonna let my body chill out a tiny bit. So that's one of the things. For some people it could be walking outside, this is very valid too. Change of scenery, change how the brain goes. At the end of the day, it's asking always, how can I move forward without crashing? Because we're talking about society which moves really fast. And that's the challenge. If you love yourself, you should be able to get the outcome you want and still be happy. Now, I haven't touched a lot on material and things and actually objects. And we have needs as human, and we have places of comfort as human. And because of society, money is the thing that is needed for those things. And to me, there is a difference between being content and having enough to be able to do what you want and working too much and giving away your time. Because at some point, what you will want to do is realize once you're at a place where financially you're comfortable, is that time is the real thing that you have that will never be replaced. You can never regain time. So without throwing out the entire concept of money and society and all of that, at some point, try to think about that. Maybe it's not worth to get that extra contract if it means now you're not gonna have any weekend for a year. Or maybe it's gonna be worth it because it's gonna give you the exact thing you want at the end, and that's your goal, and that's the challenge you have put yourself to. So again, it's about concept, and this is why it's hard to give a definite answer on how to do it. Because if you say, oh, I want to buy myself that motorbike, and I know I have to take an extra contract, well, it's very valid to work all weekends for like a few months until you have your goal, and then you can go out with your bike and enjoy it. But the other side is true. Maybe sometimes it's about saying, you know what, I need more time for me, for my family, to take care of my plants, to go travel, whatever the case may be. And loving yourself is about understanding one of the few things we have that we cannot buy is time. So love yourself, take care of yourself, ask yourself simple questions. Does this serve me? Am I happy with this? Is this going to serve the community if everybody was doing it? And take care of yourself, and you will be able to take care of others.